Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Versus. I'm standing in for Kel tonight because she's actually stuck in traffic driving down to the south of England. So I'd like to introduce my guest tonight. We've got the amazing LaLa Bright.
Hi, thank you.
Hi LaLa, and we've got Michael Koft, who's Kel's co-host.
Hello.
Hi. So without further ado, let's go straight into the show. And if LaLa could introduce herself and let us know what she's all about.
Sure. My name's LaLa Bright. I am a psychic medium. I can talk to spirits and aliens, or I call them energy beings because I'm really not quite sure what they are. Nobody really knows what they are, but they're not spirits. I was born like this. My dad was born like this. But I hid from it for most of my life. I'm 42 now. And a few years ago, I lost my parents and my son's father that I was with for 15 years. And I didn't have anybody to go to. And I tried finding psychics to connect. Because when it's yourself, it's hard for me to connect because I get my own way. And I couldn't find anybody really. And so I decided to stop hiding so that I could help other people feel better, so they wouldn't feel this pain alone. And I stumbled upon Bob McGuire, Science Bob, that people know him by. He is ex-CIA, ex-intelligence. And I gave him a reading, and he got excited and started testing me, realized I was the real deal. He moved to Maryland. We got a place, and we put cameras everywhere. And that's when we started picking up proof of spirits, EVPs, crafts, all kinds of strange things every night. So it's really interesting. And we posted on Facebook for everybody to see. And it's really cool.
Wow. Cool.
So I'm kind of curious, do the cameras, do you think, help with their coming, or do you think they kind of maybe don't come as often because they don't want to be on camera?
There's certain ones that will show up. They look a certain way. And every once in a while, they'll go away for a couple months. Something new will come, and then, they'll go away, and then the other ones come back. They take turns rotating. It's really strange, actually. But some spirits don't want to be on camera. But so far, I've noticed with the crafts and the other beings, energy beings, if you notice them, they'll hide. But if you notice them hiding, they'll come out. That's when they come out. And that's when more come. I also do talk to them. I ask them to show up. And I think anybody can do this, really. It can take some time. It's nice for me because I've always felt it, sometimes saw it, sometimes heard it, but I never had proof. So this is really exciting, getting to show everybody like, hey, I'm not crazy. This really happens,
Wow. And when you see these things on camera, do you tend to see them sort of in daylight, or is it generally more sort of infrared when you sort of catch these?
Sometimes they do come in daylight. It's more nighttime. But we got a craft during the day, and it actually had a little bit of purple on the top of it. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Wow.
And it disappeared. I've gotten EVPs. My then boyfriend, my son's father, he showed up and he flicked on the light, and you heard his voice say, "Hello, Xander." And that's our son's name. So, I mean, it all depends, really, but mainly at night.
Wow.
So, what kind of crafts do you see? Because I know there are several different styles of like triangular, which are supposedly our reverse engineered craft.
Mhm.
Then there's the cigar shape, there's the light ships, there's so which type of ships are you seeing the most?
I've seen the most. We see the triangles. We see little cigar. Well, they're up high, so to me it looks little. A lot of the light ships. Is that what you call them? A lot of those. But we've seen a couple, and it blew my mind because, I mean, these things were huge, and they were shaped. One looked like a rib cage, an old microphone, and a rib cage.
Wow.
I had no clue that they could look like this. It's amazing, really. So I want to know, who are they?
Mm.
Who, what type of being is it? Is each shape, does that go to a different type of being, and that's how they can tell who they are? But mainly, I can call the light ones to me daytime, nighttime. With my see it with my eyes, see it through the camera. They come the most easy to me.
Wow. Well, how do you actually communicate with them, LaLa? Is it all through the mind, or do you
Yeah,
have to sort of call out to them, or?
you can. I do both. It all depends on how I feel. Whatever you have to genuinely have good intentions, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and they can hear you. If like I got nervous one time, it scared me because it was just too much, and they went away instantly, and they didn't come back until a couple days later when I said, "I'm ready now. You can come," and then they showed up. I
Mm.
couldn't believe that, one, they cared, and two, they could hear and understand me.
Mm.
It's amazing. But yeah, you can say it inside, you can say it out loud. I'm kind of I think I'm a weirdo because I do have an implant in my leg that just shouldn't be there. So I think they've been with me a very long time,
Mm.
and I just didn't know.
Mm. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah, that's not so weird as I found out recently I have an implant in my ear
Oh.
from stuff when I was younger. So, uh, yeah, I'm one of the rare ones that I probably would be like, that's not weird at all.
Thank you.
Do you think the implants are down to some kind of abduction experience when you were a lot younger?
I think I have. I've had uh, strange dreams that now I'm finding out were just what do people call them? Screen dreams or screening, where I had dreams of me on this metal table and beings around me, and they were doing surgery on me, and I would have it frequently, and I wouldn't know why, and
Mm.
I wouldn't say anything. Um, I've had dreams about aliens since I was before 5 years old, and I didn't realize what they were until years later, and I saw them in a movie with my dad, and I go, "Oh, I know what those are. I dream about it all the time." And it's just strange. I know one time I did wake up during something, and that maybe I should. I'll make it nice. I
Okay.
woke up. I was having a dream, the typical abduction dream, and when I woke up, I could feel something being inappropriate with me, like very much so,
Mm.
and nobody was in the house. And I didn't see anybody. And I kept that. It scared me so much. I didn't say anything for years until I met Bob, and he goes, "That happens to a lot of people. Actually, it's a quite frequent." And that only happened once, but I know when it's aliens because I naturally have anxiety, and when they're around, I get really numb.
Mm.
And with spirits, I still get a little nervous because they're so emotional.
Mm.
But
Wow.
Right. And Lala, I love the story you shared backstage, and I want the audience to hear it too. Is about your backdrop.
the orange orbs. So my parents retired to Florida, and my dad and I were best friends. And he was very much into all this stuff, but he mainly spirits. He always got nervous about the alien topic. But one time he did say, when I walk the dog, sometimes I see one following me, like a ship following me. And he didn't say anything about it at all after that. So anyway, I was helping him take out the trash, and this is what the house looked like. It was nighttime, and I got this weird feeling, and I looked up over the house, and I saw them appear one at a time in the shape of a V. And I go, Dad, do you see that? He looks right up at him, and very robotically, he goes, no. And then he turns around, walks into the house, and doesn't help me with the trash. And that was unlike him. I mean, he would have helped a stranger with the trash. That's just how he was. And it was very odd that he acted like that. And so he goes in the house, and I look back up at them, and one by one, they go away. And after that, I just got the eeriest feeling, and I didn't know why. I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember going to the house. I remember taking the trash out. Me and my dad never spoke about it. And it's just, I don't know if they were trying to warn me or if they had something to do with it, but I started losing family. I lost my dad first, and then my mom, and then a year later, my boyfriend. And just, and every time, this isn't the first, it seemed like whenever somebody passed away, I saw something like a craft around. It was just weird.
Hmm. Have you got a bit of resentment deep down for those craft? Do you think because of what's happened? Do you think that maybe, there's ill feeling towards it because you think it might be related to what had happened?
I'm honestly a little scared to feel like that towards them because I don't want them to do anything to me. But
Sure.
also, I really am genuinely a nice person, and I would like to think that they were warning me, and maybe the eerie feeling was them saying, "Be careful." I don't know. I don't know how to feel. It's just so weird. I don't know how to feel.
Hmm.
And just to clarify, when LaLa says she's a nice person, she's a face painter that paints the most awesome faces I have ever seen, and she posts them.
Thank you.
And I'm always like, every time I see them, I'm like, how did you do that? Because one, I know when you're at like fairs and stuff, you only have so much time, but
Right.
the art is so intricate that I'm like, there's no way you could paint a lot of these faces, and yet she has like 10 photos sometimes, and I'm looking at them and they're all different.
Thank you.
It is amazing.
Wow.
Oh, thank you. I love it. It's very therapeutic, and I'm super shy, so it's a way for me to make money, but also make people happy and get out and talk with people. So it's nice all around.
Yeah. Good. What are your views, LaLa, on the afterlife?
Oh, it's definitely, there's an afterlife. I think we just change into our normal energy self.
Yeah.
I think it's probably for the most part much happier, peaceful. It always confused me about the ones that don't know they're dead. I don't know what that's about. I don't understand it. I've never run into one. Reading someone, I've never run into one that didn't know. But I think that this is just something a time for us to learn when we're in these bodies, and then we absorb that knowledge and go on. I do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I remember when my dad passed, over his body was the brightest light. But that was him saying, "This is me. This is who I am now," and that was really interesting because you never think of it that way, really.
Right. I mean, you hear in the cartoons like Lion King, for example, look to the stars in the heavens. Those are your ancestors shining down on you. And it's like, there is some comfort to that, but then we never, like you're saying, we never think to say to ourselves, look, my family, my ancestors, my friends are up there shining down on me. And
Right.
it's interesting that we can easily associate with a cartoon, but in real life, we're like that idea never comes into play.
Right. Exactly. I wish we were taught this kind of thing. I don't understand why we're so shielded from reality. They try to make it not real. And for a long time, I thought that ghosts and aliens and whatever else was like in some other world and not connected, but it is our world. It might be a different layer to it, but it's very much with us all the time. We just can't. Um, I guess they don't want us to know the truth because then they wouldn't have control, whoever they are. It's just very strange, you know?
Hmm.
Right. So, speaking about that, I'm curious your take on, do you feel like some of the spirits that we call residual spirits because they're going through their daily lives over and over, are those, I'm wondering sometimes, and I wonder your opinion, do you think that's like a parallel world that we're seeing a glimpse of and that's why it's always the same routine, or do you think spirits actually do repeat their daily routine?
I hope they don't. I would like to think um, maybe we're just picking up on energy. Us as humans are picking up on the energy of memories. It would be sad if, like, every time at 7 o'clock they went down the hall to get something. You know, I never understood that. Um, I've never had a spirit show me anything like that. Usually, what they show me is they need me to find somebody to give a message, and then they show me nice memories or they show me how they passed. I'm helping someone who used to be a police officer, and every other Friday, me and a couple other psychics like Angela Ford, she is really good, we get together and we try to help cold cases. And I've never come across that, but I would hope. I guess it's a glimpse into another dimension. You know, I don't like to say that I'm certain because I don't think anybody's really certain about these
No.
topics. You know,
Yeah,
so
that's why it's called the unexplained. Is if
right.
it was explained, we wouldn't be, so enthralled with it.
Yeah, yeah. But I hope that they can move past being stuck. You know.
Yeah. Stephen Woodard brings up an interesting point. He says, "I'm an ancient alien theorist, so to me it's the same thing." And I'm curious on your take on the ancient aliens. Do you feel like they have been here and helping us along the way or
I
hindering
do.
us along the way?
I think it's a mix. I think maybe perhaps there's some type of war going on and we happen to be in the middle of it.
Hmm.
I do think that they've come throughout our timeline to help us with certain things. I don't know if it's because they helped create us and they're helping their creation learn how to make fire or whatever. But yeah, I do think that because there's too much proof. There's too like things all around the world have certain similar things going on, and which is odd that they shouldn't have had like similar carvings or similar pyramids or so
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Hmm.
No, I respect that. And yeah, everyone that watches our show knows that we share our opinions and we don't claim to be experts because in our opinion there are no experts in the paranormal
Hmm.
or alien field. And so I'm always weary when somebody will say, "Oh, I'm an expert with the paranormal." I'm like, how? How can you be an expert?
Right. I know a lot of people in the alien field are nervous about the Anunnaki topic and
Hmm.
the reptilians. They seem to think that reptilians still kind of rule part of the world somehow, that they're in charge with a lot of things behind the scenes. Um, some say that the reptilians aren't all bad, there's different types, but those two are the oldest type of aliens that I've heard so far that are feared the most.
Hmm.
Or get a bad rap, whatever, you know?
Right.
Hmm. And they're the ones they refer to as the draconians. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or-
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I think there's good and bad with them. But I mean, usually people like to talk about the Greys or the Palladians and all, you know, the nice ones, but they kind of back off with those two for some reason.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, bringing up the Anunnaki, do
Mhm.
you feel like they were the giants of like biblical times and everything, and even back into Sumerian times, that's who we were talking about and was working on creating us as a race?
I think it's a good possibility. I've read a little bit about it, and I think some of it makes sense. I'm not sure, but they've found bones that are huge skeletons, right?
Right.
And then they try to cover it up, which is weird. But
Hmm.
I think that they might have been the race that were the giants and helped create us somehow. And I'm learning about that topic, but I do find it interesting. I think it has something to do with O negative blood too, personally. But
Hmm.
Really?
mhm.
Can
I
you expel on or expand on that? Not expel, expand.
I I know that the O negatives, it's from what I've read, I'm O negative. My parents were also, and a lot of them are very psychic, have a lot of strange things happen to them, are followed by beings, monitored, and it goes back to a bloodline that some say are the Anunnaki. So
Wow.
creators, yeah, that's one of a few, because nobody really knows. The scientists know nothing about O negative. They don't know where it comes from, and it's I think it's strange because they can research everything under the sun, but they magically don't know about this. And so it's interesting to me.
Well, and it's interesting to me too to hear you say that they think it's an Anunnaki bloodline, which means they've had an Anunnaki that gave blood
Right,
that they can tie it to, which then says the Anunnaki were real and were here.
right,
Otherwise, how do they have that data?
right. Yeah, it's really interesting. And sometimes when I do readings, it's not just people that have passed that I'm reading for. Sometimes it's people who have been abducted, and they ask me to what I see what happened. I tell them what happened, where the scars are, where the implants are, and it's very validating to them for me to say that without them telling me first, you know, because a lot of them feel crazy, unfortunately, and they go, and I go, what bloodline are you? And all of them have been O negative, which is strange because there's not many people with O negative blood.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
So I'm curious too, is your opinion, do you feel like the Nephilim were Anunnaki or a different group of giants?
I honestly think they're connected somehow. I do. I really do. The Nephilim, the fallen angel. I think people thought, like, for instance, we caught in the sky a craft that's shaped like a cross, which blew my mind. And I thought, well, maybe this is how religion started. Maybe.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe these people saw something that looked like a winged angel, but was really an alien. And then maybe some other people thought these angels were actually Anunnaki. You know, I think it's all connected somehow. I do, because it's all about what that village thought as a whole is what they're going to write down and share with the rest of their family and around them. You know what I mean? So
No, I totally understand that, and I've wondered the same thing because their stories are so true and so close together that it's like, can one be the same as the other,
right,
or did they just take part of their story from another person's story,
right,
like
yeah.
religions did?
I
And Stephen, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to know what this eye in the sky is. Like on our money, there's this eye in a pyramid. I would love to know
Mm.
what are your thoughts on that?
The
Because
all-seeing eye. Yeah.
Yeah,
do you think that
that
has anything to do with the craft or what?
my studies have shown it to be a cabal symbol for the Illuminati,
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
and
Whoa.
that it's not. It's more of. I hate to say this because I know people are going to jump all over it, but it's kind of in some ways viewed as being a satanic worship
Okay.
symbol of power over everything. But
Oh.
Mm.
it's, in my opinion, it's based on your interpretation, how it feels to you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at the swastika. That is a symbol of peace to
Right.
Buddhists and everything. But if you ask the Jewish and the Nazis,
Right.
it's the Nazi symbol. So
Right.
everybody steals and makes their own.
That's very true. Yeah. I was just wondering. I like hearing everybody. I like conspiracies, so
Me
that's
too.
why I
So do we.
Mm.
And I'm sure Matt's got some theories too on the eye.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm the same as you. I heard it was an Illuminati
right.
cabal kind of thing. And you get these theories where if you fold a dollar bill or certain notes in a certain way, these shapes are supposed to make something else. Well,
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, one's an alien face, one's the Twin Towers, I think, and
Yeah.
all kinds of
Right.
stuff.
One of them actually
One,
predicted the Twin Towers years before it happened if you fold it a certain way.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's
yeah,
crazy. I
the
think
latest.
that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the latest one that I saw was they had like the Hoover Dam, and then they showed the Hoover Dam being like destroyed. That it was
What?
empty and water, and it was like something around the Hoover Dam.
Oh my
So
god. I
everyone's
heard
finding stuff.
right. I heard they have to tell us somehow, and a lot of times they tell us the truth through movies so that we question if it's real or not. But legally, they told us. So, like the government and stuff like that they're supposed to somehow tell us information, and so
Mm,
maybe that's how they did it through the dollar bill symbolism.
yeah, maybe.
Right. What it is I've heard the same thing is to not infringe on free will, they have to declare. And so they're declaring it, like you said, in movies and in symbolism and in everything in front of us that, yeah, so it's like we're seeing it, but we're not seeing it. And
Right.
they can claim, hey, we said it. It's
Right.
right there. We didn't break your free will.
Yes, it's great.
Mm.
So Stephen is mentioning he's currently studying up on the Great Mud Flood theory. Have you studied any of that?
No, what is that?
You know, I've heard a couple of people mention it, and I think it's a different flood than the Great Flood that like Noah's Ark was a part of, but
Mm.
I'm not 100% sure what the Great Mud Flood theory is myself.
Like
So, Stephen, if
Tartarian and stuff?
it could be, Stephen, if you want to
Yeah,
write up what it is and explain it, we'll put it up and we'll see
I'd
what
like
we
to
think.
know. Yeah.
But he also is mentioning what he's asking, what do you think about the hammer displayed in Glen Rose, Texas, that was discovered embedded in bedrock in a riverbed below dinosaur tracks?
Oh my God, I had no idea. I didn't know. I live under a rock, but I know I have a lot of weird things happen to me, but I do live under a rock. I had no clue. What do you guys think about all that? Have you heard about that?
I have not heard about the hammer, but I do know that there is a dino print with a human print right next to it in rock, and a lot of people are arguing it's another dino print on top of a dino print, but it looks
Mm-hmm.
too much like a human print for me to say, yeah, there's no way this is a human print.
I gotta look that up. I'm glad they mentioned it because that's something new for me to look up. I like that.
And what do you think about that? Do you think man was around when dinosaurs were, or do you think that opens up the whole window for time travel? And we could have gone back in time to see the
I
dinosaurs.
I do believe in time travel. I do. I don't know. There might have. I'm open to it. There might have been humans or some type of human. I really don't know, but I know the government stole Tesla's information so that
Yeah.
they could make a time machine. So
Right.
And
obviously,
I want to say something about that. I don't know if you've heard the conspiracy theory about Donald Trump's grandfather, I think it was as well. Something to do with that, the missing Tesla documents.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And also there's a book that came out that was written like supposedly 100 years ago, but it has Trump, the street he lives on, his son's name. So they think Trump went back in time because of his connections, and he used time travel machine.
Yeah.
But the book really is, or it's real, so it might have happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so Stephen had mentioned to look it up because it is too much to write about. So I did. And one of the websites I found says the Great Reset of 1834 and the Mud Flood. And that in 1834, the sky suddenly turned dark, snow started to fall down, Tartarians were scared. So I don't know if you're aware of the nation of Tartaria.
A little bit, yeah. It's very interesting.
And all of a sudden, the sand begins to lift up from the ground. The rains fall down like a flood, mixes with the sand. A wave of mud covers the entire earth, leaving more than half of all life forms dead.
Mm.
And a race of beings having taken over what is left of the great empire of Tartaria, and murder all those who oppose.
Oh my god.
Mm.
Maybe
So,
it happens every so often. You know what I mean? Because they found in somewhere in Asia, they found in the water plumbing that is so intricate and beyond what we can do, but it's thousands of years old. It shouldn't have been even made. So maybe this happens quite often. We restart with another race that takes over and maybe makes us again. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
now, LaLa, I have to say, I have been thirsty for information around Tartaria because it's so hard to find any credible or any actually information really about it. What have you found out about Tartaria?
Um, I'll send it to you. There's a YouTube site, and he shows old buildings about it and information that he can find. But how I found it was there's another YouTuber, and it's called Crater Earth. And I think it's the best conspiracy ever. He thinks that for some reason the moon is like a reflection of where he thinks the earth is a lot bigger than what they're telling us, right? He thinks we're in a crater, and he thinks there's other craters with other beings. So when aliens come visit, they're not coming from another world, they're coming from another crater on this bigger earth.
That's
And
interesting.
it's great. And it's like beyond the ice wall, like there's all kinds of stuff with Admiral Byrd. It's really, really good. So
I've got to ask you now. You brought that one up. What are your views on the whole sort of flat Earth theory then? Because last week we had Mark Sargent on the show, which was quite.
I think. Okay, I know that's horrible. I don't think we're flat or round. I think we're a realm. Does that make sense? You know,
It does.
I think that we're made to think this is solid matter and all that stuff, and that we argue about certain things that don't matter, so we don't pay attention. I think we're just a layer somewhere, and it's just a realm. That's why they can't get a picture. It's not a solid. Isn't it all CGI'd for us because they can't get a full picture? Is that correct of Earth?
It's funny you should bring that
Some
up.
of them, yes.
On the news in the UK today, I'm going to see if I can bring it up on my phone quickly. I noticed they were talking about some satellite with a tiny rubbish little camera built into it managed to take a photo of planet Earth, they're saying. And they're saying, oh, it's a really grainy photograph. It's not very good, but you can make out planet Earth. And I'm thinking, well, you know, why go public with something like that? You can only see it's not the best shot,
Right.
but you can. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a planet. It doesn't look like Earth. It's in black and white. But
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit strange that they'd come out in the news. That would make mainstream news. Oh, by the way, one of our satellites has taken a photo of planet Earth.
Right.
And so it's very grainy. The quality isn't great.
Right.
So, well, why?
Right. I think something's up. I do.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your take on the moon is, because I have an interesting theory about the moon itself.
Okay, I'm gonna probably make a lot of people mad, and I'm really sorry. I'm not so sure how real it is, honestly. I know it sounds stupid, but there's too many weird things that there's too many lies involved with the moon. It doesn't things aren't adding up. So I think if it's real, maybe it's a satellite or a monitoring device, or maybe it's just, made up completely and they're projecting it. I don't know, because I see it all day long, all day and all night. I've seen it for years not move at all, which is weird to me.
I agree.
All right, what do you think?
So for me, I feel like it is artificial because, one, we hit it and it had a metallic resonance. Natural object wouldn't have a metallic resonance come from it. And two, they say, the dark side of the moon is always dark to us. If something's rotating, even the Earth, we go through day and night. Mm-hmm. How is it the moon always has the dark side pointing away from us? And thirdly is the Earth has satellites to communicate around it. That's how we all can communicate around the world. Mm-hmm. But there are 0 satellites around the moon, and yet we fly shuttles around the moon. Right. And they're like, we can't communicate when it's on the dark side.
Yeah.
How is it they've never put a satellite up to fix that in all these decades? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there is stuff on the moon. Could be alien bases, could be our own bases from secret programs.
I think that could be a possibility. Yeah.
But it defies nature how it doesn't move, like you're saying, like everything else in the universe moves.
And now doesn't the moon have a second moon attached to it? Did you hear that too?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard that.
They call it a moon. It's a tiny little structure. But apparently they're saying, it's got a second moon. There's a second moon there. And this only went public a year or two ago. Apparently it's been there for a really long time. So I don't know.
And I want to know about the Black Knight satellite.
Yeah.
I think I was looking that up yesterday again. And actually, one of the pictures that we got, it is grainy, but it's detailed enough to notice that it looks kind of like the outline of the Black Knight satellite or whatever. Maybe it's not a satellite. I don't know. But this thing came back on 2 different occasions to us, and I'm trying to learn about it, but there's so much crap in the way of finding out the real information, you know?
Yeah.
So here's a fun fact about. I looked up the Black Knight satellite to see what I could find.
Mm.
And USAtoday.com has fact checked Black Knight satellite, space debris, not a satellite. So now I'm sitting here saying it's a satellite.
Right.
Whenever mainstream media says something that's ridiculous like that, I'm like, that's a cover up story.
And plus, we blow up everything we don't understand. I mean, that's just how the USA is, you know? No offense, USA. I'm just saying. So they would have, if they could have, they would have blown this thing up to get it out the way, right? Because there's so much controversy with it.
Yeah.
Or they would have controlled it and taken it.
Yeah.
And they can't touch it. I think that's interesting.
Snopes is saying it's an ancient alien satellite that's been
be.
orbiting us for thousands of years.
That's the story that I've heard, that it's been up there for a really long time. Yeah.
Oh,
Million.
sorry. I read further on, it says that's a false story. I'm like, yeah. So
I think it might be true.
I'm starting to feel like this is a real satellite.
Yeah, it's because why don't we have other things like it floating around if it's just trash or debris, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have one. Can I just say, sorry, I'm taking over. I just want to know something.
You're the guest, so.
Okay, thank you. What do you guys think of the Mandela effect? I love it, by the way.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. There's certain lines from certain old movies, isn't there, that I've always thought, and which one was it? It was Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. That was one of them, and people say, no, magic mirror, and to me, it's always been Mirror, Mirror.
Right.
There was a few. The Star Wars one with Darth Vader.
Luke, I'm your father. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Strange.
I think, well, look, I used to love Skechers sneakers, like addictively too much. I liked them because I was like a little skater. So it used to have a T in Skechers. Now it never had a T in Skechers. And I know for a fact that's not true, you know, because I would collect the shoes. And that's when I started, that's really how I found out about it, because it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
The one that I like, my favorite mandala effect is Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
because everybody remembers it being TOONS, and it's never been TOONS. It's TUNES.
That's weird. Yeah.
Or the Fruit Loop cereal. It used to be FURIT. It was never FROOT. Yeah. That doesn't make any damn sense. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
You can.
Okay. Sorry.
But for me, the way I've been understanding, I have a friend in Colorado, Alex Collier, and he points out the reason we're having these Mandela effects is because the timelines that have been running simultaneously are all converging to one timeline, and so some facts are being overwritten. And so that's why we're having these effects, is because probably in a parallel timeline 30, Looney Tunes was TOONS.
Right.
Like a cartoon. And that's where those people are from. And when they merged into this timeline, their memory stayed with that. And that's why we're having so many of these effects, because I have clear memory of crying in the 80s that Nelson had passed away, and was like, man, I can't believe it. And then finding out like 20 years later, they announce his death again, and I'm like, wait, how do you die twice?
Right.
And
he's special. That's why he got it twice.
But, and that's one of the ones that causes everyone to have it. And now I was looking up Mandela effects, and I did a little video of it probably last year, to where there's like thousands of these effects now. It's not
Yeah.
just like 1, 2, 3, which you could say, okay, that's nothing to it. But now we're starting to get thousands and more.
Right.
Something's happening.
Hmm.
Yeah. And supposedly time is speeding up, a lot of people are saying. So, something's going on. I just
Yeah.
don't know what, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, LaLa, do you think time, since you mentioned time travel as something you're interested in, do you think time is linear or do you think it's a loop?
ooh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Hmm. I think linear. I do. Yeah. From what I've heard and read, I don't know, but um, I'm not sure. I think I've heard that people like spirits, they can be in the past and the future and present all at the same time. So something's going on, you know? What do
Hmm.
you think?
Matt?
Yeah, I'm just thinking now. I mean, what Lala's just said about omnipresence. Yeah, that's something that's right. Time. Yeah, I don't know if it would become a loop, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they do say history repeats itself, but who knows? Hmm.
Yeah. So to me, I view it as a loop, but
Okay,
there is a
maybe.
catch to it because, like, I've studied timeline therapy where you can go in your past and you go down this linear path to look at root events of why, like, say, for example, you always cry when someone mentions Easter. Don't understand why. Well, in timeline therapy, you go back to the very first instance, whether it's this life or a past life, where you started crying at Easter. And you look at what happened and you take the lessons you learn from looking at it. You don't alter it. They say you can't alter it, but you can change how you learn and what you see, and you bring in positive perceptions from it to current, embed them in to your now core beliefs. And so now when someone says, hey, let's, go have Easter dinner, you're like, ooh, Easter, I can't wait. And you're like excited and you're no longer in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility. I know the other night I do a little show on Tuesdays, and Karen Holton was on it, right? And she said something really interesting. She said that she had a pretty bad upbringing with her mom, and there weren't that many good memories. So she started remembering a false memory of having tea parties with her mom when she was little. And quite frequently, it was like a habit she was creating just to cheer herself up. She said months later, she went to visit her mom, and all of a sudden, her mom turned around and said, remember the tea parties we used to have together? They were so nice. I don't know what happened. Maybe something shifted, but that blew her mind. And I found that really interesting. I want to try it. I would love to try that, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. I almost wonder sometimes if, like, say, childhood, everyone doesn't have a perfect childhood.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of things we block out. And sometimes we block out the good with the bad because it's around the bad.
True.
That could it be that they really did have tea parties, but
Maybe.
something bad happened at the same time, and so the mind blocked it out. And she's now in creating that unlocked that memory, and that's why the mom was like, "Yeah,
Maybe.
I remember the tea parties." Although it also I have heard is because our memories are energy. That, say, I have a memory, LaLa, of watching you face paint in a park. I can send that image out, and you're going to pick up that energy, and your mind's going to say, oh, hey, here's this memory of us. And you're going to remember painting in the park and seeing me in the park, even though it never actually happened.
Yeah. It's interesting. She's big into escaping the matrix. I think she's writing a book about that, which I find interesting. I don't know too much. I know a lot of people talk about a grid, and I know 2 times we've gotten strange pictures of a grid in the background with I guess wormholes, 2 black ones, 2 white ones, and something was coming out of it. I don't know what the grid was, but maybe it was part of the matrix. Do you guys know anything about that?
A little bit, yeah. I
So,
mean, you hear
go
talking
ahead,
about
Matt.
simulation, but yeah, I don't know. Michael, I think you're probably better to explain that one.
So the matrix theory is that we're living in a simulation.
Okay.
That the real world is on like another level, and we're living out our lives thinking this is the real world when we're in a simulation. And that's why like deja vu is, something that started up and everyone was like, it's not a Mandela effect, but it's like you remember being somewhere even though you were never there. It's because maybe in the real world you visited, but being there in the simulation, it's like your mind glitched and was like, hey, we've been here, and then you'll have no other memory of it. Or that we are the reason why some of us perceive, like we were saying, could the spirits be on another dimension? Because this is stuff that we only have thought about in terms of like computers, like in a simulation of, can you see, this happening or that happening? What's the outcome going to be? And it seems like that's what's going on, is like people disappearing, and it's like there's zero trace of them. Well, what? It's like your mind will say, well, they were deleted. That's what the only thing that makes sense why there's no trace is they were deleted from a program. And so
this world is very weird, and I want to upgrade because my simulation sucks. Okay. If anybody's listening, thanks. Okay, sorry.
No, but is that the kind of what you were thinking, Matt?
Yeah, exactly the same. Exactly the same. And I was going to make a joke about my little cat with the whole black cat thing from the Matrix.
No.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, that's down to the whole deja vu thing, isn't it? When you keep, they kept seeing the black cat. Oh, it's a glitch in the Matrix, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen some weird stuff online about that. Like, I don't know how real it is, but a bird was just flying over. No, it wasn't flying. It was hovering. And someone had to poke the bird to make it fly again. That was weird. They say that was a glitch. Anyway, I've railroaded this. We can go back on track. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, actually, this is all within what the show is about. We haven't railroaded yet. We're still within the show.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. What? Now I'm like, it's like all the floodgates have opened. I'm like, ooh, what can we ask now?
I was gonna say something. Oh, I've been interested in demonology. I think it's terrifying, but it's very interesting. And supposedly, Ooh, colored orbs. Yeah. Supposedly, um, a lot more people have attachments than they realize that they do, which I find interesting. It would explain a lot of things in the world. But anyway,
I agree, and I think too it explains a lot, like why like somebody can be like happy go lucky, and next thing you know, all of a suddenly it's like they walk into the room and instead of smiling and being happy, they're like, what the hell are you doing? And it's like, where did this come from?
right.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. I've
Mm.
uh I read someone uh a year or 2 years ago when I was single. I went on a dating site which turned into me giving free readings to all the single men, but that's fine. That it worked out for, but one, he had just lost his wife, and I read for him. I didn't know he had an attachment. I didn't feel it at all when I was reading him. And when the reading was over, like hell broke loose. This thing, it was a smiling man that as I'm close, because I got really tired after that reading. And I laid down, and as I'm shutting my eyes, this thing is leaning over, just grinning at me, really creepy. And I'm like, maybe I'm really tired. It didn't register yet. Something was wrong. And I mean, I had things thrown around the room. The same terrifying nightmare of a demon child. In one night, I had like 3 or 4 of these terror night dreams, and I saged, nothing worked. I actually had to go to a new age store and get like voodoo hoodoo kind of eggshell stuff, and that finally worked. But that was a scary attachment, definitely.
Wow. Mm. Yeah, I've had a spiritual attachment as well, funnily enough, which we managed to sort of get rid of using a bit of magic, actually, a candle magic spell, where you sort of attach 2 candles with a piece of string, let them burn down and wait for the string to burn and do that, which is quite a strong spell, but it seemed to work, which is good.
That's a good idea. One of my friends, she has a shadow being in her house, and it's terrorizing the family. If they try to leave, accidents happen. They've had priests in there, nothing's helped. So that
Wow.
might help. Yeah, it's scary. They have pictures of this thing. It looks like a shadow person. I don't know what it is, but
Mm. Mm.
I
And that's
tried.
in itself, isn't it? What are shadow people? What are shadow beings? Are they
Right,
spirits that haven't crossed over properly, or are they trapped in another dimension somewhere? And you know,
right. Some people think they're demons. Some people think they're aliens. Some people think they're spirits, but some people think they're a whole other being not connected to anything that we know about. It's
mm,
really creepy.
mm,
Sometimes I feel like they're a race because
Mm,
we have the astral plane where we know, and the ethereal plane where things exist. Oh, are we
sorry.
running out of time?
No, you're fine. It was for Bob to pick up my son, but he left, so that's good.
Okay.
Sorry.
And also, there is the shadow realm and the ethereal and the astral, and that could be their world, and they're just visiting our world.
mm,
Hmm. I think that I think that they, from what I've experienced and seen, a lot of times they show up when you either have grief or some type of chaos going on in your life. A lot of times they'll show up for some reason. So maybe they're
mm,
feeding off the energy. I don't know.
mm.
It's interesting you say that because I was just thinking about the movie City of Angels.
Hmm.
And the angels only appeared to people when they were sad, depressed, or, like you just described. And so it's interesting if it's some of them aren't like
Hmm.
quote unquote angels, and we just because our mind has no filter to see them as they are, it
Right.
just creates a shadow blob.
Maybe. I mean, it could be a possibility, but I think it's interesting that certain beings care about us, certain spirits care about us. Because for a long time, I just thought, well, you die and you haunt some people, and that's it. I didn't realize how intelligent, maybe more intelligent than we are, that they are. It's amazing. And I
Mm.
think that aliens and spirits are more connected than we realize. I really do.
Mm.
Right. And so nickname brings up something I'm kind of curious about is what is your view on the orbs?
Those or in general.
Well, in general, and then we'll get into the colors.
Um, from what I've experienced, some orbs are spirits. They're more, sometimes they can flicker with lights or a blinky light. Sometimes they swirl. They're kind of see through. There are alien orbs. A lot of times they have like a metallic shine to it. They'll reflect light if you have a bright flash. But just looking at it, it just looks like a regular orb. I know a lot of people have seen the orange or red orbs. White or blue seems to be a big thing. I've never seen the blue ones, but that's, if you see that, you're set. I mean, it's very popular to see that one.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've never seen a purple one, but I don't know what the difference is. I know a lot of spirits usually come as white orbs to me. They usually aren't colored. It's the aliens that have the different colors. Maybe they're a different species. I don't know. Sorry.
Oh no, you're doing just fine.
Mm.
FarQ is saying, "Thank you for trying to explain the Matrix. I don't believe any of it. Find it interesting. I find the Mandela effect interesting, although still trying to work out how it affects my regular life."
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't affect us because a lot of us walk around not knowing. It's really weird. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a. I think people, a lot of these things, a letter is missing with different ones, not just the sketchers. I think they should go back to the very beginning and write down each letter that was taken away or supposedly taken away and see if it spells a code out. Because why else would they do that?
I was
Yes.
just thinking that too. Is there like a message in all the letters that are being taken away?
Yeah. There's just, yeah, one being's like, you know what, that Febreze spray, I don't like two E's. We're gonna take it away in this dimension and just leave one. There's no reason.
Wait, you mean it always was one? I thought it was two.
I don't know if it shifted, but it was always two, and then it shifted to one.
Ah.
Huh.
Yeah, but
So FarQ says, "Thank you for your answer. You're welcome."
I like your name.
Andy Decodes is a friend of ours in the UK. He says,
Mhm.
"Hi, Mike, Matt, and LaLa."
Hi, Andy.
He's very nice. Yeah. I have a question really quick. You said your friend Alex Collier.
Collier.
Is that the one that's really big into aliens?
He is an Andromedan.
So that's him.
That is him.
You know him.
I do.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna talk your ear off after this. I find him very interesting. And also, dude, listen. Sorry, I say dude when it's serious. Okay. There is a Mandela effect about him. Supposedly, he died a couple years ago from cancer. To the point where when I found him recently online, I couldn't believe it because I remember reading a couple years ago that he had passed from it. And I was like, well, now we'll never know all the stuff. It's weird. Anyway, so that was it.
Mm.
Yes, I know of that one, and I can assure you He is alive and well.
Yeah. Yep.
Andy says LaLa is coming on the 24-hour podcast with Earl Grey in January.
He's nice.
Andy, I'm going to take a little offense to this because am I not coming on that as well? Why was my name left off of that?
Earl Grey is really nice. He was on my show a couple weeks ago, and he's so laid back, and it, it's nice because a lot of time I've always been in the paranormal until a year ago. I got more into the alien world, and they're rough sometimes. They're definitely a rough crowd. So it was nice meeting him because he was so sweet. And actually, his friend, who's a MUFON detective, he used to be a police officer. He's interviewing me once a week. We talk, and I kind of tell him my story, and he's trying to help me get to the bottom of what's going on. So that was nice that they both helped out like that.
That's
Cool.
really cool. And so you mentioned your show. What is your show and what's it about?
My show, it is my friend Chris. It's called Grizzly on the Hunt. He is an ex-police officer that stumbled upon the paranormal and psychics and Bigfoots and all that. And so he's trying to research more with people and get people on the show that have experienced things or are passionate about topics. And so every Tuesday, he found me. I was the psychic that went on his show, and he liked me. So he brought me in, and every 2 weeks, I do a cold case with him and other psychics. That's the one I was talking about. And so he decided he would let me on Tuesday nights have a show of anything I wanted. And I have really bad ADHD. So I make it a round table where there's a couple people and we can bounce different topics. It's fun. I'm learning. And he's there with me. I think I'm going to have Steve Bassett on next in 2 weeks. Deb Cobble and John Carpenter next Tuesday. They're coming on. Jim Goodall's been on, so it's been pretty interesting.
Cool.
I think that's really cool. I have a friend, Andy, different Andy, or his name actually was Andrew, and he did a roundtable show with people, and I always find it fascinating, and I love being on podcast shows where it's like there's a panel of guests and everybody takes turn answering, or everyone just kind of supports each other's answers. So I think those are cool, those shows.
Thank you. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's laid back. It's, and I like that it's building him followers too, because he went through a rough patch with health and everything like that. So it makes me happy that he enjoys this and he's happy. So
Well, cool, and we will gladly, our Paranormal Versus Facebook group. Feel free to post about it in there, the shows, and we'll support the show as much as we can.
You'd like him. He's from Kentucky. He has a Southern accent, and when him and Bob are together, it's the strongest Southern accent you've ever heard. So, yeah, I will. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and we're happy to come on anytime you want us to come on.
I would love that. Definitely, yeah.
Kel is a real fun one to have on, and unfortunately, she's still in traffic, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
That happens.
But we'll definitely have you on again, and you can talk with her then.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Far Q says, I have found this very interesting sub. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. He says, I will be back again. Gotta jump off, head to work. Thank you all. Stay safe. Love and light all. Love and light to you, Far Q, and thank you. We appreciate that. And we look forward to you on our next one. Nickname, internet traffic. Nope, she's in real traffic. Nickname.
Yeah. Yeah, they've closed half of the M42. Apparently, that's a
Oh,
motorway
wow.
freeway that comes down that connects the middle part of England to the southwest. So she's having to use the sat nav on her car to try and go cross country.
No, no.
So yeah, it's going to take a bit of time. But these things happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have it every day at 5 p.m. Traffic comes to a stop during rush hour. I take the back road, so I don't care. But I know the highway, you shouldn't even get on. It's pointless, pretty much.
We had that here in Dallas area too.
Nope. It's rush hour, crazy. And you would think rush hour they'd want to go faster, but they go slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have you got any more questions, do you think, for LaLa, Michael?
Well, I was just about to say, what is coming up for LaLa Bright?
Like I said, I do every Tuesday. I do my show at 9 p.m. Eastern. And let's see.
Where can people find your show?
It's on YouTube, Grizzly on the Hunt. But if you go on my Facebook page, I post about it too. And also, I post all of my pictures of the spirits and other beings, all the proof on my Facebook. You don't have to be my friend. It's to the public. You can look through it. And I always say if someone would like to talk about their experiences and they're nervous or they need some kind of guidance or just someone to listen, they can always contact me.
Wow.
And I'll just listen or I mean, I've been through quite a bit, so I get it. I've heard everything also. So anyway, but yeah, other than that, I'm just doing my face painting and being a mom and putting up with Bob. So that's the whole. I'm kidding, Bob. Sorry. I'm not kidding. Okay.
You're making me think of that song, Sorry, Not Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it pretty much for now. I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's okay.
So
I will be in Reno next April, I think. It's a get together with Spaced Out Radio, and we all get to go, and the fans go, and whoever wants to go. So we were in Las Vegas last year, and this time it's Reno. So we'll be posting about that if anybody wants to go. It's just having fun and getting together. That's all.
That's cool. And so, do you do a lot of speaking events, or not really?
I've done a couple. I don't like it. I get so nervous. This is cool because there's a screen, right?
Right.
But I'm getting used to it. I know I'll have to do more of them eventually. Bob does it with me, and he loves talking, so that helps me. He'll take over if I get nervous. But it's nice, the first time I did it, I got really scared. But people were so nice because I'm used to being the weirdo. I'm used to getting picked on, or beat up. I mean, for who I am and what I've experienced. So I'm still getting used to people like you guys and other people that live this life, the paranormal or whatever. It was nice to feel wanted afterwards. They kind of comforted me. So that was unexpected, but really, really nice. So.
Well, you're always welcome on our show.
Thank you.
And on any of the shows that I have, I'm sure I'll be reaching out to have you on.
Thank you. I would love to. That'd be awesome.
So, you have time for a few more questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Andy Decodes is asking, does LaLa think we, parentheses humans, have the knowledge to travel through stargates and portals?
I think there's a very small percentage of humans that do. I think it's like a secret government team, probably. I'd love to be one of those. I think that's interesting. I really do. But yeah, I do. I think over time we've gotten information from aliens and other beings, and I think I know for a fact that we can make our own portals. John Carpenter worked for Bigelow. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say. Well, anyway, and he said, they
Too
can.
late now.
Yeah. In my opinion, he said that they know how to, and they do make portals. So yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, LaLa, because you talk about when you read people and how they come to you with messages. Have you ever was walking or had an appointment to where you're like, okay, I'm all set to do this reading, and then some figure, some being, or some kind of wall comes up, and they're like, you get absolutely nothing. You're like blocked from reading that person.
So the only time this has really happened to me is not because of a being, but because the person was so angry that it made me angry. And then I was pissed off and didn't know why. So I literally had to say, is there something going on? I feel this anger and it's not mine. And once she said, yeah, this happened, and we talked through the anger, then bam, I could read her. But there's always that blockage of high emotion, intense emotion. Um, so nothing's ever blocked me before. Usually they're really helpful. If anything, they find me. And they lead me to the person I'm supposed to read for. And this can be states away. They'll turn my phone on and go to a profile that I never clicked on, and then have it's a whole thing. It's interesting how they do it. And then I go, I don't mean to sound like a weirdo, but your son came to me, and here's the message. Anyway, one time I had a spirit, a woman that passed, and she led me to her husband. The guy's really nice, but I kept seeing these weird images, and I go, I don't know how to say this, but she's showing me like whips and chains and other things. And he goes, oh my God, it's her. We're into S&M. And I'm like, well,
Okay.
she's here. But I'd never experienced that. Usually it's really sweet teddy bears, birthdays, but this was like hardcore stuff. And he's like, that's my baby. Yay, my wife. I was like, all right, cool. So that was an experience.
I'm picturing in my mind going, what kind of relationship did they have that this was the way she chose to say, this is how he would know me, beyond a doubt.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. Definitely.
Now, in full disclosure, too, I will say I've actually had a reading with LaLa, and so she is legit. So anybody out there, if you want a reading, go to her website, get in touch with her.
Thank you.
It is totally worth it.
No. Thank you. Yeah, well, you were, a lot of, sometimes people are very easy to read, and you were easy to read because you're a sweet guy. Your emotions are, you had layers of interesting things, but it was quite nice reading your energy. So I'm glad I got to. Thank you for letting me do that.
Well, thank you for saying that. Everybody out there, you heard it. Nice guy, nice energy.
You can send me a check in the mail for saying that.
Already on its way.
No, this was fun. I really enjoyed this a lot.
Well, I'm glad.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Is there any other topics on your mind or questions you have for us, LaLa?
Let me see. This is what I like to ask actually. What is the most intense or crazy or creepy experience you guys have ever had that you will never forget? It can be paranormal, alien, whatever.
For me personally, it's probably deceased ex-girlfriend that I saw not so long ago while I was video calling Kel one day, and she was stood behind me.
No.
And Kel saw her as well. Yeah, so that was, and that ties into what you were talking about earlier on, LaLa, about spiritual attachment as well. Attachment. Apparently, she's been around for quite a long time.
Oh wow. Well, I'm sorry she passed, by the way.
Yeah, well, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
So
a lot of times we don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I said that was mine. That was probably my scariest experience, being freaked out by that and seeing her stood behind me, crystal clear, in full form.
Oh my gosh.
Full bodily form, solid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have ran probably. I don't
It's
know.
a good few seconds to work out what it was, to put two and two together and think
Right.
somebody stood behind me. And then I realized who it was. So it was like, hang on a minute. Oof. Weird.
Was it an anniversary?
No, not really. No. I mean, she's been gone. I mean, I was young when we were dating, but she's been gone now 23 years. So a long time.
Yeah. Interesting. What about you?
So for me, paranormal, I would say I was at a school in West Virginia with a friend of mine from Holland, and we were in separate rooms. And sorry, folks, this is going to be a little bit of a story to encompass this experience. But I went into one of the closets of the classrooms, and all of a sudden I felt this energy on my shoulders, like it was trying to shove me through the concrete floor to the level below. And I walk out into the classroom and I'm like, all right, did that really just happen? And so I hear, oh my God, in the hallway. And I go into the hallway and everyone's like going, oh my God, did you see that? Did you see that? And I was like, see what? And they go, his ball cap just flipped off his head. And I was like, and I'm looking at my friend and I'm like, I was in the other room. No, I didn't see the hat flip off. That would have been like the quintessential awesome experience, paranormally speaking. And again, not in my eyesight. But then we are talking a little bit and we decide, okay, I start to head off to another classroom. He goes his way, and we both stop because we hear this girl call out his name. And he looks at me and quietly like mouths, did you hear that? And I'm like, yes. And then we both hear laughter. So we go running towards where we hear the laughter. And I go onto the balcony of the theater area or stage area where they perform. And on the balcony, I see this spot on the ground. And I think, well, this spot looks weird. Had a digital camera. I took 3 photos of it. None turned out. They all were fuzzy, blurred. Like whatever it was did not want to be photographed. So my friend won't come on the balcony. And we're like, this is where we heard the voice from, but there's nobody here. And so we finally decide, okay. So we go and explore the rest of the building, and we go up to one of the rooms on the top level, and every window is coated in flies. No other in the building has flies.
No.
And they go, well, this is the room where somebody jumped out the window and committed suicide. And I was like, this window, this room is the area right here.
Yeah.
It's the only one with the flies. And they were like, yeah, that's it. And then we go to leave, and my friend from Holland laughingly, this is a moment where we kind of laugh and are like, solidified our friendship, so to speak, is he goes like this on the hood on my car, at the top of the car, and goes, thank you for not running. Because this was the first time we'd investigated, and I told him on Facebook in the group where we talk, I don't run. And it's like, yeah, people say that, but when you're in the moment, it's like, are you or are you not going to run? And he was like, thank you for not running. And I was like, oh, you're welcome. But yeah, that place, that experience, yeah, is always with me because of how I felt. Hearing that was the first time really hearing like a laugh and a voice.
Yeah.
Disembodied, and the flies. It was like the whole like experience was just boom. Now, alien though would be walking outside and looking up and seeing one cloud in the sky having flashes of light and going, this is a space battle.
Dude, it happens. It does.
Yeah, and I went and got my mom and said, you need to look at this. And she's like, is that heat lightning? I was like, no, because it's one cloud. There are other clouds in the sky, but nothing's happening. It's all focused behind this one cloud.
Yeah, they hide behind
if it was lightning or natural, it would not be isolated like that.
Right. How many years ago was this?
I would say, let's see, it's 2023. I'd say probably 2-3 years ago.
Interesting.
Maybe 4.
4. That sounds. Yeah, I had experience with a big UFO in a cloud. I didn't know that they hid in clouds until then, and I saw the underbelly of it, and it looked like weird black plumbing intertwining, but it was shooting out fireballs, and it had a helicopter from the government come up with a spotlight. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was when I learned that they could hide. So now I'm thinking, are any of these clouds real at all, or are they just hiding stuff?
Well, it would explain the effect of why they have certain images, like people see like teddy bears or lizards or aircraft carrier shape in the clouds. That probably is hiding something in the cloud.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, but that goes back to the whole thing of, is this place all made up and created? It's interesting. I don't fully believe in a lot of stuff. I take bits and pieces, but sometimes it starts to mingle together and make sense. But then it's too weird. It's too weird for my brain, and I've seen a lot of weird crap. So
yeah. Yeah, it's always funny when you get those moments where you're like, I study the weird, and this is weird to me. Kind of moments, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this.
I'm gonna sit down now or back off. Yeah, my woo level is cut off complete now.
Yeah.
Thank you for the stories, you guys.
Well, thank you. So, last question before we end this. I'm trying to think. Ooh, okay. And I'm willing to bet you've never been asked this on a show. This is something new I'm doing. I'm trying out.
Okay.
So, favorite dessert, cookie or brownie?
Jeez.
And
oh no. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Brownie. There you go. but only if it's crispy on the outside and mushy on the inside.
Mm,
But I
Yeah.
do like cookies. But yeah, I prefer a brownie.
I can get behind that.
me too.
My son's gonna be so mad because he makes chocolate chip cookies all the time. I should have said cookies. But yeah. What
So
about
we'll
you guys?
clarify it. She likes brownies unless it's her son's cookies.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. That was good.
Okay. So thank you all for tuning in. And thank you to everyone in the chat group. Thank you, LaLa, for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was fun. I really appreciate it.
And so let's see. Next week, we will be back because of Thanksgiving here in America. We won't be having a show that week. So we pushed up a week. So we will have an episode next week, and it will be Barry Fitzgerald,
Wow.
who I'm sure most of you
Wow.
know him or know of him. So we're looking forward to that episode, and we are looking forward to LaLa coming back on the show and
Anytime. Please.
all of
Yes.
our shows.
I would love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So from our show to all of you fans out there, wherever you are in the world, have a blessed morning, blessed afternoon, blessed evening. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us at Paranormal Versus. Hope to see you on our next episode.